Welcome to the Simple Sophisticate podcast, where intelligent living is paired with signature style. I'm your host, Shannon Ables, and whether you're listening on your commute, exercising, working in the garden, or sitting down with a hot cup of tea or a café au lait, thank you for tuning in. Let's get started. Welcome to the 129th episode of The Simple Sophisticate, and thank you for joining me. I have an episode for you that I think you're going to enjoy. We cover so much in today's episode as I welcome a guest back to the podcast that we enjoyed talking about fashion with, but also someone who's going to hopefully help you tackle this upcoming holiday season when it comes to shopping. As well, for my foodies and for those who love to entertain and those who simply just love to eat well, but simply this week's Petit Plaisir is definitely up your alley. So stay tuned at the end of today's episode and we'll get right into that. Then I'll share with you the recipe and so many other lovely little details about food that are just interesting. At least they were to me. Hopefully they will be to you as well. But to today's topic, our episode is welcoming back New York City stylist Tiffani Rogers. And she's coming back on the podcast because she has just released a fantastic resource for anyone who loves visiting the city and wants to shop well when they go there and come home with some treasures they will keep and use and love for years to come. Not only is she going to talk about her new resource, but she's also going to share how to tackle the sales. As we know, this is sales season coming up on the end of the fall season, hitting the end of the fourth quarter, and there are all sorts of sales everywhere. But there's some strategies that she's going to share with us that I think you'll appreciate. As well, she's going to talk about some of the trends that this season has brought and which ones are worth investing in, as well as share one of her favorite things to do in the city during the holidays. So if you are in the city coming up, this is something that you too can partake in and enjoy. As well, she's going to offer listeners to this podcast and readers of the Simple Luxurious Life blog a special opportunity with regards to the resource that she is sharing. So be sure to stay tuned for that. All of the details that we're going to talk about are going to be in the show notes, but we've got to get to this conversation. I think you're going to enjoy it. Here is our conversation. Welcome to the Simple Sophisticate. This week's podcast is bringing back one of our favorite interviewees or our guests. It is Tiffani Rogers, the stylist from New York City who joined me this past summer, and she is back again to talk about New York City, style, and, well, wherever we want to go with the conversation. Welcome back, Tiffani.
Hi, it's great to be back. Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Are you kidding me? I truly, though, we want to talk about fashion and style as always, but you are living in New York City, and I am really excited about one of the reasons I wanted you to be on the podcast today is to talk about a new project you're working on to help us out who love visiting the city, love shopping in the city, maybe even live in the city, know where to go and shop in the city. What have you been working on?
Yeah, so for the past couple of years, actually, I've been working on a Shop the City. It's my own personal shopping guide to New York City. Because I find that, the past 10 years that I've lived here, everyone who comes visit is like, where do I shop? New York is so overwhelming. Even people who live here, don't know about. There's so many hidden gems. It's my job to shop, so I'm constantly coming across boutiques. But I feel like, a lot of people who come here, they just go straight to Midtown, which is like Times Square, Bryant Park, and they're just like running circles around themselves. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to create a shopping guide. And I created Shop the City. It's the first edition. And it's all my little hidden gems, some you may know about, by neighborhood, starting from downtown to all the way uptown.
Well, and I love that you've organized it this way. I was looking through it, and as I was telling you earlier before we pressed the play button or the record button today, I mean, you hear about these neighborhoods. I've heard of Soho. I've heard of NoHo. I don't think I've been in NoHo. Maybe been in Soho, but you know what I mean. I've heard about them, and so you actually include a map as well. So visually, we know where these are located, so that when we go through your guide, when we see they're in this neighborhood, we're like, oh, that's close to where I'm staying, or that's close to where the subway stop is that I'm going to get off to go see that museum. I might as well pop into that boutique. I think that's a fantastic approach, and I would appreciate it as a shopper.
Yes, absolutely. That's what I want to do. Make it life as simple as possible and a great shopping experience because it can get overwhelming.
Well, it does, and I think the first time I went to New York City, I did kind of what you said. I hit Saks and Bergdorf and Bloomingdale's, which is just above Midtown, not Midtown, but it's close. And
Yeah.
I'd heard of those big names, and it's easy to find, and I didn't know where other boutiques were that I would thoroughly enjoy. So this is right up my alley, and I have a feeling right up the alley of many listeners as well. So thank you for doing this.
Yeah, my pleasure. Yeah, I can't wait for the feedback. And like I said, I would love to do this, create a revise edit every year because the city's always changing. There's always new shops, sometimes unfortunately shops close. And for 2017, I'd love to add a Brooklyn section because Brooklyn is just a whole other ball game.
Yeah, I was going to say when you go to New York City, I'm always torn because you don't know if I mean as far as time wise, I would love to go to
Mhm.
Brooklyn, but if I go to Brooklyn, I'm not going to be able to do all the things I want to do in New York City. So yeah, there's got to be just a trip. I'm just going to go to Brooklyn. So before I go, I'll wait for your guide, and then
Okay.
I'll go because I have heard amazing things about Brooklyn as well.
Yes, yes. And that's the thing too. Like I see how people come to the city sometimes for the weekend and they're so ambitious. They have their checklists, and I mean, if I could give one tip, it's especially if you're coming for a weekend and you really want to enjoy the experience of New York, just pick one or two neighborhoods. Don't try doing the whole island of Manhattan and don't try doing like somewhere way uptown and then going downtown. I feel like if you want that real New York experience, focus on one or two, like one neighborhood each day and just like wander. Cause even like I said, my guide right now is very edited and it's just, the best of the best. If you're going to spend time here, this is where you should spend your time and energy, but also there's so many other great shops around too in those particular neighborhoods.
So you'll stumble
And
upon those as you're kind of going to the
yeah,
ones you've already
yeah.
recommended. I think that's a very smart idea. I think what was it, the last village or last neighborhood that I remember just kind of perusing around just like that was in the West Village, my last visit.
Oh,
I
right?
think, well, of course, Magnolia Bakery is there. Am I remembering
Yes.
correctly? Okay.
Yep.
And then I think there's a French little bistro called Bouvette there. I don't know.
Yes.
I could
Yep.
have stumbled into another neighborhood. I'm not sure. But like you said, I just kept wandering and I felt like I was just stumbling upon things. I think that's good advice. So thank you for sharing
Yeah, and
that.
yeah. I love to like every neighborhood I go to, there's always a great coffee shop. Just take time and sit in the coffee shop and people watch. Like you just learn so much about that neighborhood and you feel like you're in a different world. So I would strongly encourage that too.
That's a great idea. No, I was looking through the various shops and I came across one really that just caught my eye. I don't know if I'm just in a consignment mindset right now, but you mentioned Michael's and I can't
Oh
remember.
my goodness.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to remind me which neighborhood that one was in. But this is what I love, and I think readers will appreciate this too. This is all your firsthand experience. This is something that in the description of each of these places, you're gonna say what your experience was in that shop. And you even said that you take your items sometimes there to sell, and you've received worthwhile returns when they take your clothing. So that is one thing that I think you're not gonna find in other city guides. So if they know you or they trust you or they know your taste, they're going to be like, oh yeah, I definitely will go here or take that subway stop to this place because I know Tiffani has recommended it and it'll be worth my time. But tell me about this shop, first of all, because I've never heard of it. And
Oh, well, that's the great thing too. I feel like a lot of people, there are some really great consignment shops here in the city. Again, like think about the neighborhood. So there's a couple on the Upper East Side. And, you have women who clean out their closets seasonally and they take their stuff to. I remember my first visit to Michael's. I was like, where have I been? Brand new, almost probably barely worn. They were probably worn once. Louboutins for like a fraction of what you would find at Saks, brand new at Saks. But I'm telling you, the conditions are immaculate. They don't take, just anything. So it's like you're paying for such well-made items that probably have only been worn once, for a fraction of the price. It's amazing. And the racks of fur, oh my goodness. Like I was like, wow. But I mean, again, we're on the Upper East Side. It's if you plan on visiting the Met, it's a stone throw away from the Met Museum. Pop on in.
Oh my! I probably walked right by
Yeah.
it too.
Well, that's the thing. It's on the second floor. So if you didn't know, you know what I mean? It's not unless you know about it, you don't. How often do you look up?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so true. Oh, well, I'm excited for that one, and like you said, there's a few more. So because you're right, consignment is it's treasure hunting, and then when you do find something, it's like and you've saved money, and you just feel so proud of yourself because you saved money, but you've bought something you really enjoy. I'm a big fan of that. So thank you for
Yeah.
doing those kind of boutiques as well, not just the new items, because I think that's smart.
Yes.
Smart
Yeah.
shopping. Speaking of smart shopping, okay. I love shopping sales, but at the same time, I'm not going to go spend my money buying anything. It's sale season just around the corner with regards to the holidays and end of the fall season. What is your approach when you're giving advice to your clients about shopping for sales? Well, yeah, I'll just let you start there because I think there's probably all sorts of things we can talk about here.
Yeah, absolutely. First rule number one is just tell yourself, don't get fooled by the sale price, right? Even sometimes I can get caught up when it's like half off. Then you see the sign, it's like, take an additional 30, 40% off. And then sometimes you'll try to justify it, right? But I always stop and I'll look at the original price and I'll say, Tiffani, would you pay the original price for this? And if it's an automatic no, like I wouldn't even buy this at full price, walk away. But if you do want, if there's something you've had your eye on, now it's on sale. Okay. Now we move to step two. How often am I going to wear this? Can I wear this during my everyday life, or is this just a special occasion? You might wear it once or twice. Think about how often you're actually going to wear the item.
Okay. And now,
Yeah.
and quick clarification. So if I'm looking at the full price
Yeah.
and I'm saying I wouldn't even pay that price, is it I wouldn't even pay if I had the money and could afford it? Or is it I wouldn't even pay it if how are you? What is the approach, I guess, between those two? If I had the money, I shouldn't. How do I want to say that? Do you know what I'm getting at?
No, would you pay the full price for this? Like,
Okay.
do you love it that much?
Okay. Got it. Okay.
Regardless if you have the money or not. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Like,
got it. That's the
it's
key.
something you would pay. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. That's clarification for me.
I mean, to be honest, like at places like J.Crew, I find myself like,
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not, unless I love it and I'm like, I have to have it right now because they're always having sales, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So actually, I was there last week. Oh, I did buy a shirt full price. Okay, see, I loved it. It was a shirt. Yeah.
That's true. That's a good point. I think
Yeah.
that's a good test. So number one, know whether or not you would pay full price if you had to pay full price. And number two, how many times? So kind of a cost per, is it a cost
Yeah.
per wear at that point when it's on sale? Or is it more of just, okay, are you really going to use this? Or is it just going to?
Right. Because I think with sales, and this is why, stores do this, is it's more a mind game, right? Like you're like, oh, it's a hunt. Like, oh my God, I'm getting this for so cheap. It's like how Home Goods and TJ Maxx and all those other places have blown up because that's how people think when it comes to purchasing. It's like, oh, look at this. I'm getting this for X amount because it was originally,
on set
such and such.
so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and this makes me, that's a whole other conversation really, but the American mindset versus I always compare it to
Mm-hmm.
France and how they have the sales in July and January. I happened to have been there one time in July when they had the sales. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe the sales, but they never go on sale any other time of year. So
Right.
completely different mindset. And it is psychology. And I think it's a
Totally.
good point. It's training your mind to say, hey, do you really need this? Is it really something that you love? And if not, congratulate the shop on having the sale, but walk away.
Right.
Because it is
Exactly.
exciting. It's like, whoa, okay, all these things. Wait a second, I don't need this. I really don't.
Right.
Are there any? So a lot of us shop online when it comes to these sales, seasonal sales. I know that I share a lot of promo codes on the blog when all these sales go on. But is there an approach you take to shopping online? How do you maneuver? Are there certain sites that ooh, this place will always have really good discounts. They're definitely worth going. For example, Net-a-Porter, designer items. Are there any places where you would go absolutely when those end of season sales come up?
Yeah, I feel like with specialty sites, if you love it, or if it's like, I feel like as opposed specialty sites and and small businesses, if you love it and you're like, I want a full price, I would maybe wait on it a week or two, but then it might be gone. But with big brands and multiple, like the J.Crews, the huge ones, they're gonna, like, Tuesday there's gonna be a sale thing in your inbox. So I tell my clients, so just let's just wait on this one, and sure enough, it's a sale.
Okay, and there usually
Yeah.
are promo codes, as you said, for
Yeah.
those big box stores that are online. Is there? You probably know more of the secrets behind the scenes. Are there certain days of the week that these big stores? Yeah,
Oh, yes.
okay,
So interesting.
tell.
Yes. No, and this is why I paid full price for that shirt at J.Crew. So I went in, this was last week. I went in with a client on Tuesday, and J.Crew has some amazing fall fit. Like
You were
I
saying
like
that.
J.Crew,
I
but
saw that on your
never,
Twitter. You're loving their collection.
yeah. And I've never been like, oh my God. I feel like J.Crew has their, followers, their diehards.
Yeah.
And I've always been like, okay, that piece cute. But when I went in shopping for another client, I was like, oh, they're like this. I love this collection this season. Really, it's great. Um, so I shopped for the client during that week. And then it was Saturday, and I happened to be in the area, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to go and shop for myself. Oh, so when I went on Tuesday to shop for the client, all tops, all blazers, jackets were 30% off, or some 40%. They're having a sale, right? So great.
The in season like that fall season
Yeah.
items.
So
Oh, nice.
that was on Tuesday. But listen, that was on Tuesday. Great for my client, right? Because there's all sale. So then I'm like, on Saturday, I'm in the neighborhood. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go back to J.Crew. Like, I really like some of their stuff. I go in on Saturday. Oh, guess what? Nothing's on sale. And they're smart. They are very smart.
That makes sense.
Instead, those signs had been replaced with spend $250, get 25% off. Spend 100 something 50, get 15% off. So basically, right? And I'm always like in my head with Matt. So basically they know, one, it's Saturday. People are going to spend more on a Saturday. Also, again, I did the math. $250 to spend to get a quarter off. Like, no, the sale that they had during the week was much better. You know what I mean? So I was like, nope, I'm not falling for it.
And I always think of, well, when people are shopping on the weekend, if that's the only time typically they can shop, they're more willing to say, oh, you know what? I'm not going to be able to get back here next weekend. I definitely can't get here during the work week. So I'm going to get it and pay full price. It'll be worth my time and energy. But like you said, Tuesdays, people, I mean, so it's Tuesdays, middle of the week. That's what I seem to notice. For example, I follow DVF pretty closely just for certain items, and her sales, if she has promo codes, they're not running on Friday and Saturday.
Exactly, because that's when people, they've gotten paid, they're ready to spend.
Yep.
And and during the week's hard, it's slow, right? So you want people to come in and spend money. So it's really interesting. It's really interesting.
Yeah, and knowing their customers. Thank you for sharing that. That's interesting. Perfect example to exemplify that. That makes a lot of sense. All right, I have one more style question for you, just because I want to pick your brain on this topic. We had talked about it last week on the blog about handbags. I've been seeing more and more discussion about smaller handbags versus the big tote. And a lot of readers in the blog were sharing their experience. I am torn. I love and need at times my big tote, but I love the concept of a small tote. So I'm curious what your thoughts are, and are you seeing that trend in the collections that are coming out as far as different styles, different size of small bags? I know that's maybe oxymoronic, but the idea of, is there a medium-sized bag that could fit fit someone like myself and fit all? I don't know. What are your thoughts on it?
No, I think it was 2 seasons ago, the crossbody that made a huge comeback. So
still pretty popular.
So I think that contributed to the small handbag movement.
Okay.
But me personally, I'm a girl on the go. So when I leave for the day, like I need my tote. I'm a tote girl too. And it's funny because I also posted on the blog, I think it was last month or so, how I've been looking for the perfect crossbody, because I also love to carry around a book where I go, I like to read on the subway or if I'm waiting somewhere. So I need a crossbody that's big enough to fit a book. And yeah, I find a lot of them are small. Yeah, I find people are on either they're all for it or people love their big tote bags.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, you need them. I wonder, I found, maybe it's the shoulder bag. Maybe it's the middle child, the shoulder bag. Just get one that has and not a tote, but it's a little larger than a crossbody. That's kind of maybe where I'm leaning. So I can put a book in there. And as many of my readers were saying, they need to be able to put their sunglasses or their glasses.
Yes,
And so that would fit. That's the only thing. And this is a dream for me. And I would, they seem to look like they're perfect size, but the Chanel, what is it? I always mispronounce the name of her handbag because it came out. It's the date that it came out, isn't it? What's the Chanel bag with the chain handle? I can't remember the name of it, but that size always looks this perfect for me. But I'm like, yeah, you save up.
Yeah, no, my friend has the ginormous one.
Okay. Okay.
And I actually was trying it out last weekend.
Speaking of consignment, that's where we need to start shopping for those.
Oh, well, yes, there is a shop which is known for their gently used Chanel handbags.
Ooh, I'm there. I'm there. The thing is, they're such well-made bags that it's okay to go and purchase that. I mean, it's going to still be with you for a long time in great quality, and you don't have to pay that full price. That's what I love about those consignment shops.
Yes, it's amazing. There's also another one downtown that I will never, time comes when I want a Birkin. They have so many, and they look brand new Birkins. I'm like, why would anybody wait when you could just come down here and get a gently used one?
I was going to say, I have no qualms about getting a consignment designer bag. As long as it works, it does what I want it to do, and it's going to last. That's the key. It's not about saying, oh, I have a brand new Birkin or I have a brand new Chanel. Number one, will never be able to pay that price. But number two, I understand the quality is going to be worth paying for if it's going to last my lifetime.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm dreaming.
One day.
Yeah.
No, they're definitely investment pieces.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. I think the handbag question is really your lifestyle, and I think it probably will shift for each of us, as some of my readers were explaining. Depends on what they are doing in their life at that particular point. If they have children, that's going to determine one thing, and if, like you said, you are gone from your apartment all day, you're going to need a bigger bag to put everything you're going to need. That's a good point. Do you ever put a smaller handbag in your tote when you go?
Oh, like I know. I'm a huge fan of the pouch clutches, like the Claire Vivier.
Oh, I love those.
Just the zip.
Yeah, I love those.
I love those. Okay. I love those. Sometimes I will. Or if I come home and I'm like done for the day and I'm gonna go out at night, I absolutely, and those fit a book. And I've been known to put a book in there. People are like, what?
And they're good quality and they're simple. They're not, you can fold them up and move them around and kind of squish them into your bag when there's nothing in them. I love her clutches, I guess you called them, or they have all different sizes, but that's true. I love those. No, that's a good idea. I didn't even think about that. I do have one of hers. I love it. They take time too, because don't they custom make some of those?
But I also feel like since her brand has become well known, and she really started that whole movement, the pouch, movement. I feel like a lot of other designers have since jumped on that bandwagon. So I feel like you can find a lot of like a different one, but I highly recommend hers.
Yeah, they're good quality, and there's different price points for different sizes.
Right.
So buy what you need, but also what you can afford, and they do last. Mine, I think I've had mine for 4 years, and I absolutely love it. And it looks like it's brand new condition, and I use it a lot. So definitely good quality. Okay, I do have another stock question. What are some of your favorite things that you're seeing in New York City on the streets, and as you're moving into the fall season and the winter season, I guess I should say now?
Oh, yeah. Another going back to my point of like, if you're visiting the city, just take time to like sit at a coffee shop and people watch. Because I find I love doing that. Like I get so much inspiration from, just watching people walk by. And especially like
you are. Yeah. First of all, I have to give a shout out to losing Bill Cunningham. It breaks my heart to open Sunday's fashion style pages and not have his photographs anymore. But he really, and you do get to see fashion style everywhere. That's the beauty of that city. But yeah, you are my resident Bill Cunningham, so go for it.
All right, I'll have to start snapping pictures. when I'm at the coffee shops. But yeah, no, I think what I love too is like downtown versus uptown, right? Like
Ah, you do see a
downtown.
difference, huh?
Oh,
Yeah,
totally. And
yeah.
what I love about uptown, it's like that polished glamour,
Got
right? But
it.
it's like it almost reminds you. Trying to think of what it would remind me of. But it was so funny. I tweeted the other day. It was raining out yesterday, and I'm on the Upper East Side, and I'm like, oh, I know I'm on the Upper East Side because almost every single woman passing me is wearing their Burberry raincoat.
Really? Really? Okay.
Yeah, so
They're a
it's like,
great deal right now too, aren't they? Because of the pound dropping. Not that that's a good thing, but it is good if you want a Burberry coat right now. That's what I've been hearing. Oh,
oh my God, get that trench.
yeah.
They have a great trench coat. Yeah, I
They
heard
do
that.
have good. Yeah,
Someone
they do
in
have a
the
good
works
coat.
of buying them. I forgot who. I don't know. But I did hear that. And then you go downtown and it's totally like laid back but chic, very Paris, right? Like you could have like the leather leggings, like a cozy sweater and Stan Smiths, the Adidas sneakers. Those
Got it. Got it.
yeah. And
Ooh,
you'll see like, the downtown. I'll see like if you're on Bleecker Street,
I
there's
know
a
where you're at.
school
Yeah.
right at the corner. It's called Little Red Schoolhouse.
Okay.
It's a very well-known school. It's a private school. Actually, John F. Kennedy Jr. went there. Like but it's right at the corner. You've probably passed by it because it's on the way to Magnolia Bakery. You probably just don't realize it's a school. But at pickup, oh my goodness, the moms, they're like, it's like, yeah, yeah, they're like so hip and they're wearing their Stan Smiths and their little leather leggings and biker jackets and
Oh my goodness.
slouchy knit caps.
Oh, okay. I can visualize this. I
Yeah.
gotcha. Oh, what a difference. That is distinctly different. You always hear about uptown, downtown, and to be honest, I never really think twice about it. I haven't spent that much time in both, so that is a good example of both of them. Wow.
Yeah, it's understated glamour. It's that like
Yeah.
it's almost like a messy top knot. Like you don't want to look like you tried too hard, but you still put an effort.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Totally. That makes sense. The little.
Whereas uptown, it's like pristine. Like
Yeah.
they're ready.
They're ready. They know their audience. They know their
Yeah,
neighborhood. I mean, really, it's not. They're kind of. I mean, they're fitting into their environment. I would imagine,
yeah.
upholding their name or their whatever they're representing. Yeah, interesting. Oh gosh, no. Have you seen? I'm curious to see if this trend is really catching on. The over the knee boot or the suede knee high or over the knee boot.
Yes,
Are
I
you
was just gonna
seeing
say
that
yes.
actually in the okay? Thoughts on the over the knee? Is it actually feasible? I mean, as far as besides, I don't know what. I'm just curious. It looks
Yeah,
great, but is it actually comfortable?
I think if you're one to wear like skinny jeans or skinny pants all the time, then yeah.
Yeah.
But
Oh.
if not, then no. And if you have to do a lot of up and down,
Oh,
I don't,
okay.
yeah, I wouldn't. I do like a boot that comes like right below the knee. That I'm loving, and I'm seeing a lot of. I'm seeing a lot of too.
Okay, that makes more sense to me because what I love the combination of a midi skirt or midi dress, which is
Hmm.
everywhere, and then wearing those suede knee boots because why do you need an over the knee if your skirt's over your knee? It doesn't make sense. So just wear the
Right.
knee boot, and then you are staying warm but also staying in vogue. And I just love that contrast of say a wrap dress, a silk wrap dress with the suede boots. The contrast in textures, I think, just looks fantastic.
Yes, and what I'm loving too is like the knee boot, like over jeans, and there's all blazers. Like J.Crew had a bunch of fun print and colors, like just a big fun over the blazer over like a sweater. Again, looking put together but not trying too hard.
Well, that's a simple
Yeah.
classic outfit, but like you said, if you up the boot with a suede, make it more on trend, and then have a funky blazer or a blazer that's your personality. That's kind of new and refreshed. That's a great idea. That's a great
Yeah.
idea. I like that. I like that. So you get to be in New York City during the holidays. What are some of your favorite things to do, rituals, or places to go that only have a special event or occasion during this time of year?
I love the city during the holidays. So the weekends are crazy. I hibernate up in my neighborhood. Uh, well, actually, it's funny. I have, friends and family that I already have like one weekend booked. So usually those weekends in December, I always have someone visiting. But during the week, I love to just late at night, not too late, but to go see the Bergdorf windows, I always wait until it's like, maybe 8 or 9 o'clock. And then I have a glass of champagne at the plaza. And then I walk down Fifth Avenue and see all the windows. And it's almost like it's an amazing experience because you think you have the city to yourself.
Oh, okay.
It's real. If you're
amazing.
in New York City during the week, wait until around 8 or 9 when the crowds, disperse, get a hot chocolate, and that's the time to see the windows.
I love it. You did a post for me, I think, a few years ago with those those windows. And
yeah,
they were magnificent.
Amazing.
I felt so fortunate to have a glimpse of what it's like to be there during the holidays because I've never been in the holidays. But yeah, I have seen every year when you post those pictures on your Instagram. I'm like, fun. That's right. I forget that you get the champagne. I remember that comment. You do that every year. Yeah.
Oh, talk about a place that people watch.
The plaza is.
Yeah. So last year my mom was here. I think it was the first weekend in December. And she was like, well, I want to go to the plaza and have champagne. I was like, all right, this is my tradition. Come on. So we went, and it was a Saturday night.
Oh, okay.
And there was a wedding, and you see like not so much New Yorkers, but you see the tourists. It's fun to watch, like all these people from all around the world.
Oh, yeah.
Like I could always tell, like, oh, they must be from Texas. They're from, like people.
Sure.
It's just amazing seeing
cultures.
all these different cultures.
Oh yeah, and every
that's
state
also
brings their own culture. I can't even imagine. Yeah. Oh, I think it'd be fantastic to come during the holidays. I've never been, but I will live vicariously this year through you.
I'll be sure to post a lot of photos.
No, truly, I love following you on that each year when I see those because how do they decide what? I mean, do they usually pick a theme for those windows, or how does it work?
Yeah, they do. So Bergdorfs, I'm not sure. Did you watch the documentary? There's a documentary on Bergdorf Goodman.
Yeah, I remember you telling me to watch that. I don't know if I finally watched it.
I think it's on Netflix. It might be on Netflix now, but there's actually a team of people who are in charge of creating those windows all year round. Isn't that amazing?
The entire year. That is amazing.
Because they're so detailed.
Well, they're so intricately put together, and you can't even imagine the artistry or the time some of those things need to come together. That's what's so unique and special about it, I guess we could say. Oh,
yeah. No, absolutely. Bergdorf's the best, though.
Okay.
Hands down.
Okay. No, that makes sense. And that's right there. If I'm remembering my map of Manhattan correctly, that's right there on the south side of Central Park, right? South End. Okay.
Right across from the plaza.
Got it. Oh, that's right. That's true. The plaza's right there, too. Oh, my gosh. Fun. No, that is exciting. What was it? Oh, we were talking earlier, I think you and I on Twitter or texting maybe about the first Monday in May. Speaking of right around in that area, I finally watched the first Monday in May documentary about the Met Gala. That was just magnificent.
I know. Amazing, right?
Oh, all the time. Speaking of a lot of time, they plan that. What do they start doing it the year before? And then, it's worth the time and energy they put into it because it does come together beautifully.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, I am so excited about your new project, Shop the City. You've tempted my traveling taste buds to get back to New York City with all that we've talked about today. Where can readers and listeners find Shop the City, and what do they need to do to get their hands on it?
Okay, so Shop the City is available on my website, stylebytiffani.com. And Tiffany with an I, but I'm sure you'll have this in the show notes.
Of all the links in the show notes, absolutely.
Yeah, and you'll just click. It'll be available to purchase and then download right to your phone or computer, and you're off.
And they're off. Awesome. And how much is this Shop the City for them?
The Shop the City is for our simply luxurious readers. It is $20, and then for outsiders, it's $30.
Okay, but is there a code or something they need to enter?
Yeah, okay. I'll give you. How about let's do Simply Luxe?
Simply Luxe, we can do that. I'll put that on the show notes. Simply Luxe to save $10 on the Shop the City guide. That works. Thank you.
My pleasure. You always have the best audience.
I just am so tickled you joined me again. We're going to have to make this at least a seasonal discussion about fashion, if nothing else, just to reminisce about the city from someone who doesn't get to live there as you do. You seem to have a fantastic time, and I just want to thank you for joining me again.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I always enjoy sitting down with Tiffani, whether it's here on the podcast or whenever I get a chance to go visit her in the city. She is a good friend and also a wise resource when it comes to style and where to go in the city. With her new style guide, I hope you enjoy it. I'll provide a link to her new shopping guide, Shop the City, a shopping guide to New York City, her 2016 edition. It is regularly $30. You, the listeners of The Simple Sophisticate and the Simply Luxurious Life readers of the blog, get a $10 discount simply by entering the code SimplyLux, all caps, $10 off. Boom, yours to keep for as long as you want. And you'll know for sure you're going to be shopping at some great spots, finding some great treasures. But now we have a fun Petit Plaisir to get to, and it involves a perfect recipe for sitting down with friends and chatting over a glass of wine or catching up and just knowing you're not going to be in the kitchen forever and ever creating it, but also trusting that the flavor is absolutely magnificent. Stay tuned. I'll be right back with this week's Petit Plaisir. All right, this week's Petit Plaisir comes from a new cookbook that just came out, and I've been talking about it constantly on my Instagram feed and on the blog. It is Ina Garten's new cookbook, or should I say the Barefoot Contessa's 10th cookbook, called Cooking for Jeffrey. It came out just the end of last month, I should say, October 25th. And it is full of his favorite recipes. But what I found, I actually thought this was one of her better cookbooks, probably the best cookbook so far. Back to Basics is great, and so is Barefoot in Paris. But this one is more of a memoir in many ways. Yes, you have a ton of recipes, and it's laid out just like her previous cookbooks. But I feel like you get to know her a little bit more through her relationship with Jeffrey. And it just seems a bit more personal. As well, the recipes are her trademark. They're delicious and simple. And I tried one out for you, and I want to share the recipe with you here on the podcast as well as on the blog, and you will not be disappointed. I was nibbling on it before I sat down to tape this episode, and I'm going to go have some more after this and pull out a glass of wine and just enjoy myself. The recipe, here it is. It's simple. It's her arugula with prosciutto and burrata. And it is just that. It is simple and absolutely delicious. She actually talked about it in her second episode of her series that's on Food Network right now. And so if you've been watching that, you know exactly the recipe that I'm talking about. And it's one of many that I can't wait to dive into. There are so many that I've dog-eared in my cookbook. As you'll see on Instagram, I have a picture of the cookbook, and you can faintly see all the dog ears on the bottom of the pages. There are a ton of recipes that I want to try, but let's get to this recipe because it is just that simple. You can have it done in 5 minutes. Really can just have it done. And it's not going to be something that'll break the bank, but it will definitely be something that'll look like it breaks the bank because of the ingredients. So all you need to do is find yourself some arugula, some burrata, which, by the way, just in case you're wondering what the heck is burrata, mozzarella is basically what you're working with, but it's a step above mozzarella in the sense of decadence because it's your typical mozzarella type cheese on the outside. So round, white, lovely, luscious, but inside are shredded pieces of mozzarella that have been soaked in cream. So it's really rich and decadent on the inside. You open it up and it's this creamy looking mozzarella. And in case you didn't know I didn't necessarily know this, is that burrata means buttered in Italian. And so you have that, again, that richness, that creaminess inside. And so that's the difference between the simple round cheese of mozzarella that you'll typically pick up and slice and put on your bruschetta or whatnot, and burrata. Definitely makes a luscious addition to the salad. So you have your burrata, you have your arugula, and you have your prosciutto. You can also add figs to this as well, she suggests, and toasted slices of baguette. All you need to do is mix up the dressing, and the dressing is a simple vinaigrette. And since I made this for 2 servings instead of 4, her recipe is going to call for 4. I'm going to give you the measurements for the dressing for 2 people. So I used 1/8 cup white wine vinegar. Try to find your best white wine vinegar. I then added 3/4 teaspoon of Dijon mustard. I use male mustards. They are fantastic, and definitely you'll notice a difference between that and a typical Dijon. Then I put 1 medium egg yolk that's been sitting at room temperature, 1 teaspoon garlic, minced, Then I just add a pinch of salt and freshly ground black pepper. That can be put into a 2-cup glass a liquid measuring cup, or just a nice bowl. Those are all those ingredients for the vinaigrette, and then you have to emulsify it. So you're going to add 1/4 cup of good olive oil and just be mixing as you're pouring with a fork or a mini whisk, and there's your dressing. All you do now is put the dressing in the bottom of a bowl, put the arugula on top of it, toss it so that all the greens are dressed, as they say. And then I put my salad, and you'll see it on Instagram, and you also see it on the show notes, so don't worry, you can check it out in a bunch of different places. I laid the salad on a bed in a white platter, and then I put my prosciutto that's finely sliced on top, just kind of randomly placed on top. And then I took my burrata, and you don't even need a full burrata. You can probably just use a half a burrata, but I used 3/4 a cup, 3/4 of my burrata, and I sliced it into thirds. And I just put that evenly across the greens. And that's it. It's so simple. It truly can be a lunch all by itself if you're not uber hungry, but you want to be satiated, or it's a fantastic side. And it's simple. It's so simple. So I'll provide a link to the recipe on today's show notes, thesimplyluxuriouslife.com/podcast 129, and a link to her new cookbook. I think you're going to love it. One other thing about the cookbook that I think you're really going to love, at least I did, was that in the back, before you get to her index, she provides a picture gallery of what she keeps in her pantry, the actual names of the products. So her favorite salts, her favorite rice, her favorite mustards and chocolates, and all those things that you always wonder, and you never quite know for sure if you watch it on if you watch it on Food Network as well. She offers 2 other pages, all of the tools that she would recommend for a starter kitchen. But then for you cooks that love to cook and those bakers who have been doing it for years, she has an index of Ina's professional kitchen utensils and tools. And it's not a long list. That's the beauty of it. It's just quality products that will last and do the job that you're asking of them. So not only do you get the recipe, but you also get more of a memoir than I've ever had or seen her do in her cookbooks. Again, I have 5 of her cookbooks. She has 10. This is her 10th one. So I can't speak for all of her cookbooks. But you do get to know her a little bit more, as well as Jeffrey. And in fact, if you didn't get the chance to watch her special she had this last weekend of her in Washington, D.C. called Barefoot in Washington, try to find it on Food Network if you can. I'm sure it's going to be in repeats, because it is where she used to work before she bought her gourmet grocery store, Barefoot Contessa, in the Hamptons. But she also has some dear friends that still live there, and she gets to go cook with the White House executive chef. And some of the recipes she has taken and tweaked and put into this cookbook. Her vegetable tart, for example, that you see with the zucchini in the White House that she makes, she tweaks that a little bit, and she puts that into a tomato tart into her cookbook. And I think it'll just add a little bit more depth and appreciation for this cookbook. Anyway, all those recipes are in this new cookbook of hers, and the recipe that I just shared with you are going to be on my blog, thesimplyluxuriouslife.com, for 2 servings instead of 4, so you can make it and have enough for you and a good friend, or probably a third friend too, to be honest with you, as well as some leftover for lunch tomorrow. So visit the show notes, thesimplyluxuriouslife.com/podcast 129. I hope you've enjoyed this week's Petit Plaisir, where each week ideas are shared to make the everyday all the more enjoyable. Tune in at the end of each Monday's podcast, where I'll recommend a book, a film, or a recipe. Anything that is a simple pleasure to satiate your sophisticated taste. Thank you for tuning in to the Simple Sophisticate podcast, where intelligent living is paired with signature style. For more ideas and inspiration throughout the week, stop by the blog, The Simply Luxurious Life, cookbook.com or pick up the book, Choosing the Simply Luxurious Life, A Modern Woman's Guide. To stay caught up on the most recent podcasts, blog posts, and receive exclusive news as well as an extra dose of inspiration, subscribe to the Simply Luxurious Life's weekly newsletter, which arrives in your inbox each Friday to enjoy with a hot cup of tea or your morning coffee, just in time to jumpstart the weekend. Until next Monday, I'm your host, Shannon Ables. Bonne journée!